Eating out at restaurants can be challenging if you have a gluten intolerance or prefer to have a diet that doesn't include gluten, especially if you're trying to eat in an Italian restaurant. But I'm with Chef Chris at Iorio, and he does have some options here that will make great choices for you. In fact, he's going to show us how to make a gnocchi that doesn't have flour. So my first question is I don't think everybody knows that it has flour to begin with.
Flour is basically what binds it together, because you have the potato as the traditional base, you have an egg yolk, which is the glue, and then the flour is what makes the two starches bind.
Okay.
But you can use a gluten, whether it's somebody's gluten-free mix of flour or if it's your own blend at home that you use and you like and you prefer, either are fine. But that is without the flour, just the egg and the potato. Once you put in the water, we'll just release. And
So how do we get started here?
so basically, you have a baked potato. You want to bake them soft, and then all you're going to do is just use the skin rather than scooping them out with a spoon into either a food mill or a food ricer is the best. You want the least amount of pressure and movement. You don't want to do these in like a KitchenAid. And then it all comes right off.
Simple so far, all right. So then our next step is we're going to start adding the egg.
So egg yolk, and by 1 pound or average 1 medium to large potato, 1 egg yolk. And basically you can tell how many egg yolks you want, just a light yellow color, just a pale yellow to coat through. Seasonings, you can put in, we have a little pecorino, a little bit of roasted garlic, just some soft herbs, parsley, basil, anything you have in your garden. I like a little fresh ricotta. So then I have a little bit of the garlic pressed out, a little bit of the herbs. And then we'll put in the cheeses, both of them.
Smells good, looks good.
Where all you have to do is just incorporate your flavors, and that's it.
And then the flour we're going to be adding, this is a blend of flour that you've developed yourself?
We always have gnocchi and pasta available every night, gluten-free. So you have it all incorporated, all your flavors are there, and then at this point, a little salt, a little chili flake, whatever seasoning you want. Remember, it is potatoes, so you are going to have to put some salt into it. And then at this point, we'll taste.
Me too? Mm-hmm. All right.
And then for flour, you're going to do about 3 times.
Good.
So just enough to coat, and then fold.
So this is where touch and feel,
and then
you
this is
need to know.
Yes. And then this is the point also where you don't want to mix a lot. Once you start drawing your flour, whether it be regular or gluten-free, you want to just fold it just until it kind of sucks it up. And you want it until the moisture, until it forms kind of a ball. Same idea as making like a dough in a mixer. Once it really starts to clump together, you're pretty much where you need to be. And then all we're going to do is just roll out little snakes. So a lightly floured surface, and then flour your hands.
I get some too? All right.
Flour your hands before you do, and then otherwise it'll stick to your hands. And then you're just going to roll out just a little snake, and then just the natural weight of your hands. So just gentle. And then really, you know, you're looking about like your forefinger, your index finger, somewhere in there. And then a little knife or a bench scraper. And then if you had a bunch together, and then just always flour the ends and the edges, just like that. So then as you scrape them with your bench scraper, put them onto a lightly floured sheet pan, casserole dish, whatever it is. But if you flour the ends, they won't stick together as you do and roll out and make more. So you got your water, it's coming up to a boil. It doesn't have to need to be at a full raging boil. Here we have just a little bit of butter that we're going to brown. In there you see the foam that's starting to build. Those are the fats that are coming up. And then you'll see a little bit of brown that'll happen on the outside. A little bit of garlic that is just smashed rather than being chopped up. And then, again, using a little bread.
Time to drop the gnocchi in.
Gnocchi in. Gnocchi will take between 40 and 70 seconds to cook. And all you're looking to do is just for it to come rolling around in the water. So as these guys are cooking, you notice the butter has come to a nice froth. You have a nice little bit of brown. You see the fats. This is just a little bit of sage out of the garden. And all we'll do is just roughly tear this up. And the sage will just fry just in the butter.
That really smells good.
So then as you see, they're starting to come up, they're
They are.
starting to fold. And again, note, using a non-traditional flour, a gluten-free mix, whether again it be your own or somebody else's, they're going to have a little more weight to them naturally than what a white flour would be. So they may not roll as much as you're used to with the old school style.
Okay.
But once one or two pop up, a little bit of agitation, and that's it. Shake them off. A little pasta water is perfect.
Help thicken the sauce a little bit.
Exactly. And then again, we have gluten-free pasta and gnocchi made nightly. Just when you make your reservation, just make a note of it, either online or with whoever takes your reservation. And then we'll go over to dish. And then dishing it up.
I think I'm ready to eat that. Well, thanks, Chris, for sharing the recipe. And we'll have a link at fusionnw.com to share that recipe. And if you'd like more gluten-free options, be sure to stop by Iorio.